witnesses testifying in this matter step outside the courtroom. All witnesses testifying in this matter step outside the courtroom.
All right, members of the jury, I trust you had a good time.
Thank you.
Thank you. All right, Madam Clerk, call the case, please.
The Commonwealth of Virginia versus Stephen Rankin. Is the Commonwealth ready?
Commonwealth ready.
Is the defense ready?
Ready, Your Honor.
You may proceed, counsel. The witness.
Judge, we would call Garrett Busto.
Solemnly swear or affirm testimony to give in this case will be the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth, so help you God.
I do.
All right, counsel.
Thank you, Your Honor. Good afternoon, sir.
Good afternoon.
Could you just remind us again who you are, please?
My name is Garrett Justo. I'm a special agent with the Virginia State Police.
And, sir, did you have an occasion on the 22nd of April of 2015 at approximately 12 p.m. to have an interview with a Gregory Provo?
Yes, I did.
And can you tell us where that occurred?
At the Detective Bureau for the Portsmouth Police Department in the city of Portsmouth.
And what sort of recording was made of that particular interview?
There was a video recording and also a separate audio recording.
And can you, without getting into the substance, just describe to me how the interview took place?
It took place in a conference room at the police department between myself, Mr. Provo, and another agent that was with me.
Was there a question and answer, or how did that proceed?
First it proceeded, we had Mr. Provo just explain to us the events that took place in the parking lot. Actually, we started in the Wal-Mart and then proceeded out to the parking lot that day, and just had him run us through the timeline of events and go through basically what he saw and what he witnessed that day.
Do you have your notes in front of you with respect to that interview?
I do.
And I want to direct you to the, I guess, second to last paragraph that's on your
Yes, sir.
notes. Did Mr. Provo mention to you anything?
Objection to foundation.
We asked Mr. Provo about these questions. He denied saying those. Did you ask Mr. Provo, or did he make a statement to you with respect to he saw any type of scuffle between Officer Rankin and Mr. Chapman?
Yes, he did.
And what did he tell you?
He advised after the officer had the suspect on the hood of the car, the suspect started pulling his arm away from the officer, and I saw a little scuffle.
Did he indicate whether or not he had observed a taser or a taser being used?
He did advise that he tased him. These were Mr. Provo's
Objection,
words.
once again, to foundation.
These questions?
Your Honor, Mr. Provo testified at no point did Mr. Broccoletti ever ask him about these particular words that are being read from a Virginia State Police report. It's not verbatim, and it's also...
I thought he went up there and showed it to him and asked him no questions.
Your Honor, he directed him to highlighted portions. He did not direct him to this portion. And he also did not indicate to him at any point that if he asked him these questions and if he brought someone in to state something to that effect differently, would he change his opinion?
We didn't ask him that, but I was going to ask him a question.
Sir. And did he indicate who tased who?
He just advised he tased him, the guy kind of ripped off from him.
Did you have a later interview with Mr. Provo on the 5th of May of 2015?
I did.
And about what time was that?
That interview was approximately 12 o'clock in the afternoon as well.
And where did that interview take place?
That took place in the parking lot at the Wal-Mart on Frederick Boulevard.
And what was the purpose of that interview?
The purpose of that interview was to have Mr. Provo walk me through locations he was at during the incident in the parking lot, and also to move back over his previous statement.
Directing your attention to the second paragraph, do you have your notes with you there?
Yes, sir.
Did Mr. Provo indicate to you that he ever saw a taser in the police officer's hand? Or it could be your first paragraph, I'm sorry.
Yes, he did.
And what did he tell you?
He said, I couldn't tell if the police officer actually deployed the taser. He said, I saw the taser in the police officer's hand.
And then directing your attention to 2 paragraphs later, did he ever tell you what sort of motion Mr. Chapman made towards the officer?
He did. He advised he made a lunging motion towards him.
Thank you, sir. No further questions.
Good afternoon.
Good afternoon.
Let me just ask you a couple of questions about how you generated this report.
Yes, ma'am.
Okay? This report that you generated, these are not the verbatim statements of Mr. Provo, are they?
Not completely, no.
Okay, so what you did was you interviewed him, and you asked him questions, and you got answers from him, and then you generated this report, correct?
Yes, ma'am. These are.
But if we play the video and the audio of the recording that you interviewed Mr. Provo with, we're not going to get what you have in this report. We're going to get the substance, but we're not going to get the same questions and answers that you have on this report.
This is not a dictation of.
Okay, so this is not a dictation. So when you're reading this, are you using it to refresh your recollection, or are you simply just reading what's on this report right now?
I'm reading it. These statements are the statements that he made during the interview.
Well, what he made in the interview, some of these, this right here is dictated completely as if he said it all himself, right?
Judge, if I may, just for clarification, we have 2 reports, and I'm not sure which one we're referring to.
Both of these reports are written as though this is what is coming out of his mouth, correct?
That's correct.
And so if we read the lines, it says, I was doing this or I was doing that, right?
Yes, ma'am.
But in fact, when you were interviewing him, you asked him questions and he gave you answers, right?
Part of it.
Okay, so he wasn't always saying, I did this or I did that. Sometimes he would respond to your questions.
Yes, ma'am.
And then this is your summation of what the gist of what your interview was with him.
Yes, ma'am.
Okay. And so some of these items that you are now reading back, that is not the verbatim words that came out of his mouth on every instance.
Unless it's quoted in there.
Okay. And so we have a couple of different instances where we have quotation marks. And what Mr. Broccoli just asked you about was the line where it says he tased him, right?
Which
Which
document?
it's on the document from the interview from April 22nd, okay? And so you just testified that in your report that you created, it says he tased him, the guy kind of ripped off from it, right?
Mm-hmm.
That's not in quotes, is it?
It's not.
Okay. But what is in quotes, and you're looking at your April 22nd,
Mm-hmm.
okay? What's in quotes?
You're going to fucking tase me?
And where is that?
That's right after the statement that you previously read. He tased him. The guy kind of ripped off from it and said, you're going to fucking tase me.
Okay, so that's what you have in quotes.
Those are Mr. Chapman's words.
Okay, those are Mr. Chapman's words, but nothing else right there is in quotes. And then if you go to the end of your report on that same page, what's the last full sentence on that page?
Judge, I'm objecting to that. I mean, I asked this particular witness impeachment questions with respect to questions that were asked of Mr. Provo, and it's improper to go over further questioning of him in other parts of the report other than those questions that I brought out.
This is with respect to the very question he asked about where he indicated that he lunged at him. It goes directly to that.
The last full sentence is, he didn't charge the officer, but he said, what are you going to do, shoot me? And then made a gesture towards the officer.
Okay, thank you, sir.
You're a Virginia State police officer, correct?
Yes, sir.
How long have you been an officer?
17 years.
And you're sworn to tell the truth.
Yes, sir.
Is this what he told you?
This is a summation of what he told me, yes.
And when the first interview was recorded,
First one was recorded.
the second one you took notes of?
That's correct.
And are your notes accurate?
Yes, sir.
Is the recording accurate?
Yes, sir.
And is the report accurate?
Yes, sir.
And are the statements accurate?
Yes, sir.
Thank you.
And once again, you just said this is a summation, right?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay. So this is not the same thing that's in the audio and the video?
Not the entire...
In your opinion, it's the same
Can you answer the
substance?
question, please?
The entire audio, every single word that he said is not in this report, ma'am.
Okay, so this is your
Summation.
summation?
Yes, ma'am.
All right, and the only thing that is exact is what's in quotes?
Actually, the quotes on here are misinformed you. The quotes in here are what Mr. Chapman told Mr. Provo.
Okay, so the rest
quotes
of
in
it's a
there-
summation?
Yes, correct.
All right, thank you, sir.
Nothing further.
Next witness.
Judge, the next witness would be the reading of the testimony of Officer Dykstra.
Okay.
And-
All right, members of the jury, sometimes when a witness cannot be present, the court allows the attorneys for both sides to question that witness. This one was done by conference phone. So what will be read is what this officer will testify to if he was present, okay? All right.
And, Your Honor, the way it was conducted, Mr. Wiggins asked questions, we asked questions, Ms. Belote asked questions, and we also have a person that would play Mr. Dykstra with the court's permission. Officer Dykstra.
You may.
All right. Ma'am, Ms. Sykes? Cedric, you want to go first since you read the question?
She's just gonna read the whole thing.
Oh, you wanted to read the whole thing?
Yeah, she just said who said that.
Okay. Yes, ma'am, you're going to...
For the record, you need to know who asked.
Yes, sir. So, well, first of all, tell the court your name.
Michelle Sykes.
All right. And Ms. Sykes, you are in possession of a transcript of the testimony of Officer Dykstra that was taken on July the 26th of 2016.
Yes.
And we're going to ask you to read that transcript, but when you read it, you need to ask, or you need to state it, who's asking the questions. Do you understand? Yes?
Yes.
All right. Could you go ahead and start, please?
Sure.
And you could just start where it says examination by Mr. Wiggins.
Okay, the direct examination?
Yes.
Okay. Question.
And speak into the microphone, please.
Okay. Question. This is Cedric Wiggins. I'm asking you about the incident Officer Rankin was involved in on April 22nd, 2015 in the parking lot of Wal-Mart in the city of Portsmouth at 1098 Frederick Boulevard. The report that I have is labeled Case Supplemental Report, and it indicates I arrived on scene at approximately 07:37 hours. When I arrived on scene, Officer Rankin was performing chest compressions on the suspect. As I approached to assist Officer Rankin, I failed to notice the taser laying on the grass median and knocked it with my foot. The detective on scene, who was assisting Officer Rankin, told me to set up a perimeter. I then set up the perimeter with crime scene tape and later assisted in extending the crime scene perimeter. When the forensic unit arrived, I assembled the black screens and organized them around the deceased individual. After setting up the crime scene, I maintained the integrity of the crime scene until being relieved. The question I guess we all want you to answer is, when you say that you knocked it with your foot, could you please expound upon that? Answer, yes, sir. When I arrived on scene, I was focused on Rankin, and as I walked across the median headed towards Officer Rankin, I was walking in the grassy median, and I was fixed on the situation at hand in the parking lot, and my foot, while I was walking, I must have stepped over the foot with my lead foot, and my rear foot caught the taser off the median into the parking lot. Question. And if you could tell us, as you recall it, approximately how far did the taser travel? Answer. I honestly couldn't even estimate. Because I didn't see the taser where it was in the median, and I didn't even realize it was the taser until I saw it. Mr. Broccoli, hello. Answer. In the parking lot by Mr. Wiggins. Question. I'm sorry, I didn't hear that last part. Mr. Barcletti, I apologize. Answer, I can't even estimate how far it was the taser moved because I didn't know where it was to begin with. I didn't even realize it was the taser until it had already hit my foot while I was walking past. Question, when you say it hit your foot, was it, or let's try first to pinpoint this median. Do you recall where the vehicle that Officer Rankin was by was located? Can you picture that in your mind? Answer, yes. His vehicle was basically directly in front of me. I was walking from my vehicle, which was parked on Frederick Boulevard, across the grassy median to the parking lot where Officer Rankin's vehicle was. And Officer Rankin was just outside, from what I recall, was just outside of his vehicle around maybe the front left tire possibly. He wasn't too far from his vehicle and he was doing chest compressions in the parking lot. And I walked up on him and the other detective, I'm sorry I do not know who it was, but they were already assisting Officer Rankin and he directed me to start doing the crime scene. Question, well, when your foot struck this object, how far were you from Officer Rankin's vehicle about? Answer, I would say I couldn't even really estimate. Going off of what I remember, the median was probably maybe 30 or 40 feet from the vehicle, or from his vehicle. I basically would be speculating. I don't have any notes or anything as to the facts of how far the vehicle was from the curb or anything like that, but I know it was all within the same general area because we eventually had to have the body covered up with the black canvas that we were using for the deceased. Question, all right. Did you notice the taser after it came to rest, when it stopped moving after you struck it? Answer, yes, I noticed it after I had already had it hit my foot. Question, okay, and when you saw it come to rest, where was it? Answer, I believe it was sitting in the right next to the curb, possibly facing the curb. I'm not 100% sure. Question, okay. And how far was that curb where it landed from where you believe you struck it with your foot, approximately? Answer, I would believe that it was about 1 stride length. That's the only thing I could estimate. So the average stride of a human male, that's what I would estimate. Question, and probably it's the same true now as it was then. How tall are you? Answer, I'm 5'11". Question, and at the time you did this, you were walking, not running, I would assume. Is that correct? Answer, I believe it was a brisk walk. Question, okay, and now you were doing a brisk walk. Is that correct? Answer, yes. Question, and now you can imagine a football, a person kicking a field goal. Would you have struck it with that kind of force or something somewhat less than that? Answer, no, I didn't kick it. I took my next step forward. The taser got dragged by my foot because I assume my foot must have gone either underneath or very close to the taser as I walked by. But I kicked up my foot to step down onto the curb, off the curb, and it carried the taser with it. The amount of force that you put into your foot to walk is the amount of force that I put into when the taser hit my foot. Question, and that curb you're talking about stepping off of, that's the same curb that it landed close to, is that correct? Answer, yes. Mr. Wiggins, okay. Mr. Barcletti, do you have any questions? Mr. Barcletti, I do. Cross-examination. Examined by Mr. Barcletti. Question. Officer, this is James Barcletti. How are you today? Thank you for taking our phone call. As I understand it, you didn't even notice the taser to begin with in the median strip until your foot struck it. Answer, I didn't even know it was there. I was focused on Officer Rankin and the situation that was at hand in the parking lot. Question, sure. So you don't even see it in the grass median at the time?
No,
You said
didn't even see it.
Oh, sorry. Okay, let's see, where was I?
Line 7.
Okay, question. Sure, so you didn't even see it in the grass median at that time? Answer, no. Question, so you're not able to tell us whether the taser was on or off or what the status of the taser was? Answer, no. I couldn't tell you anything about it. Question, and after you struck it, could you tell if there was any change in it, whether it was on or off at that time? Answer, I would only be speculating. Question, I don't want you to do that. Answer, I vaguely recall that the light was shining on the curb, but at this point, a year later, I'm not even 100% sure, so I wouldn't. Question, what do you mean by that, the light? Did you say turning? Mr. Wiggins, no on shining. No on shining. Answer, I'm sorry. Mr. Wiggins, I'm sorry, I apologize. You answer the question, I'm sorry. He asked you, what do you mean by the light was on? Answer, I don't even really remember 100%. I vaguely recall that taser light was shining onto the curb. Question, okay. Answer, I'm not even going to put the testimony at 100% sure that that's even 100% accurate a year later. Question, okay. But as I understand it, you kicked inadvertently the taser in the direction of Officer Rankin and his vehicle. Answer, yes, because that's the direction I was walking. Question, so as it came to rest, it would have been closer to the officer than where it originally was at the time you struck it. Answer, most likely yes. Question, you never picked it up, touched it in any way? Answer, I only touched it with my foot as I walked forward. Question, sure, but I mean you never picked it up and looked at it or examined it? Answer, no. Question, and you never saw Officer Rankin in the vicinity of the taser, only at the location by the car that you described before me? Answer, yes. When I arrived on scene, Officer Rankin was with the individual providing chest compressions. Mr. Barcletti, I think that's all the questions I have. Thank you. Ms. Belote? Examined by Ms. Belote. Question. Hi, Officer Dykstra. Can you hear me okay? Answer. Sort of. Mr. Wobleski. Nicole, this is Brandon Wobleski. I'm going to hold you as close to the phone as we can get, okay? Ms. Belote. Okay. Question. Officer Dykstra, you indicated that the light was, well, you vaguely recall the light shining on the curb. The light is what would be activated if the taser was on. Is that what you're referring to? Answer, yes. Once the taser is activated, you can see the light. Question, okay, did you tell other officers about the fact that your foot inadvertently kicked the taser? Answer, I'm sorry, I'm having a really hard time hearing what you're asking me. Question, I'm sorry, I don't know if this is any better. Did you tell any officers on the scene or after the fact about inadvertently kicking the taser? Answer, yes, I told the detective in charge of the scene at that time. I don't remember who it was, and then I wrote my supplement right afterward before I left. Ms. Belote, okay, thank you. I don't have anything else. Redirect examination, examined by Mr. Wiggins. Question, one last thing, Officer Dykstra. When you answered Mr. Broccoletti and said that when your foot had brushed or struck the taser, it caused it to go closer to where Officer Dykstra was, that would be, answer, I'm sorry, state that again. Mr. Broccoletti, Officer Rankin. By Mr. Wiggins. Question, I'm sorry, Rankin. Where Officer Rankin was, my apologies, you're right. That would depend on the angle that Officer Rankin was at or the position he was at the time because, answer, I'm sorry, I don't understand what you're asking. Question, okay. I guess my question is, based upon your recollection of the events, did your striking the taser cause it to go closer to Officer Rankin, or can you really tell that?
Can you stop for 1 second? Do you see the crossouts? Okay, go ahead. Continue, please.
Answer. It went from wherever my foot scooped underneath of it in the direction that I was walking. And I was walking in the direction of Officer Rankin who was providing chest compressions. I was moving closer to Officer Rankin, but it was closer in the sense of where he was at that moment in time. Mr. Wiggins, all right. Does that cause you to have any more questions, Mr. Barcletti? Mr. Barcletti, no, sir. Thank you. Mr. Wiggins, does that cause you to have any more questions, Ms. Belote? Ms. Belote, no, thank you. Mr. Wiggins, thank you very much for helping us out, Officer Dykstra. Answer, okay, do I need to expect another call in the future or anything else? Mr. Wiggins, I doubt it. Mr. Barcletti, no, sir, probably not. You saved yourself a trip to Virginia. Answer, okay, thank you very much.
Thank you, ma'am. May she step down, Your Honor?
Let's step down.
Thank you, Your Honor. Our next witness will be Brian Childs. If we could have a moment to see if he has arrived.
You can just call him Howard, so that this is you can check out, see if you recognize.
Judge, I'm being told that he has not yet arrived, so if we could have a brief recess, and I will find out exactly how long it will be before he gets here.
You have a cell phone?
I do.
Call him and let none of the jury. What's the jury?
All rise.